The first official interaction between humanity and the alien Federation was set up in conjunction with guarded hope that the Federation will expand its alliance of species throughout several star systems. The Federation had constructed a reputation for technical dominance and military prowess, with their enormous fleets, each ship blazing with state-of-the-art weapons and defenses. When people agreed to the request for a diplomatic conference, the galaxy awaited how this would turn out. Unknown species would exhibit their human fleet, which reached its own self at the agreed-upon gathering spot, an enormous, large area of neutral space surrounded by faraway stars and nebulae. The ships appeared modest by galactic guidelines, with tiny, mismatched vessels that seemed to have been dragged out of the holes at the scrapyard. They were marked with wear, some with obvious dents and scuffs, their designs creating a patchwork of styles from different human ages. The sleek uniformity, in contrast to historical Federation vessels, made the human fleet appear as a collection of museum artifacts sent for discussion with commanders of the alien Federation. The Titans were able to react quickly as their scanners observed the human laughing that filled the fleet. The lines of communication they saw only crude and outdated metal engines, a terrible sight in comparison to their own gleaming frigates and dreadnoughts. The extraterrestrial admirals broadcast their open mockery and amusement, oozing from them. "This is the best you can do?" they said. "Did you muster these antiques to a suitable gathering? Are you lost travelers, or are you negotiating?" The taunts, coming from another century, were more patronizing than the last time the aliens saw a human fleet. A mix of contempt and curiosity filled the air, as they could not understand why people would dare come near them in such a condition. They made fun of them among themselves, assuming humanity must be stupid or desperate to believe they could create any kind of impression with this kind of exhibition. Assured of their technological superiority, they viewed humans as a little annoyance that should be ignored. Human beings waved their hands. Commanders, however, maintained their composure and calmed themselves. They heard the taunts, but their facial expressions remained unintelligible, giving nothing away. They were fully aware of how they were viewed, and that was exactly what they were hoping for. The human fleet's ostensibly archaic appearance was well planned, a deceit in every ship and component. Evidently, trash had been positioned with the goal for which they had planned for years, this interaction. While being aware that the extraterrestrials' haughtiness would cause them to become blind, the extraterrestrial leaders kept laughing. The humans didn't send any reaction. They held their position, watching closely. They kept an eye on every response internally, each and every bit of information sent across. The humans in the Federation's fleet were observing, evaluating, and anticipating the time to attack. Their strategy depended on this. Underestimating the haughtiness of a species that thought it was unbeatable was key. As tensions increased, the alien Federation became irritated with the human silence. They insisted on an answer, an explanation, or a gesture of submission. When no one arrived, their tone became sharper. "You'll pull out right away or face the repercussions." An extraterrestrial admiral was convinced that this danger would send humans running back to their ships. Still, humans didn't use spaceports. They refused to back down or be forced or intimidated by the alien commanders. The aliens were confused and becoming angrier. They increased their demands. They observed humanity's unwillingness to flee as the first obstacle that had to be overcome. They couldn't imagine that there could be greater significance to the human fleet than what they saw with their eyes. However, humans were aware of this. They had arrived ready to demonstrate to the galaxy what lay behind their modest exterior. The aliens, with their jeering and laughter, had entered the trap directly. The humans were more than prepared to trigger it. The alien Federation was becoming weary of the quiet of the human fleet. Their final message pierced the void with icy precision. Surrender either right away or risk annihilation. The commanders of the extraterrestrial fleet were keen to show their authority, thinking this would end the standoff swiftly. They were certain that people, observing the size and power of the Federation's armada, would select the prudent course of retreat or surrender. They waited, confident that their demand would be fulfilled in accordance with the laws of the galaxy. The human reaction was nearly serene. Uncomfortably, the chiefs of the fleet sent back a brief note. They would not give up, nor would they retreat. There was no sign of fear or retreat. Their tone was one of quiet defiance. They decided to arrange their ships, building a defensive, ostensibly loose and dispersed arrangement, appearing more like a last-ditch effort to maintain a line than any well-thought-out plan. Radio silence followed, as the humans made no contributions to the discussion. This defiance infuriated the commanders. They had anticipated prompt compliance, possibly even an appeal for negotiation, but instead they encountered silent opposition, an insult to their authority. They could hardly tolerate such impudence. Unresolved annoyance boiled inside their ranks. They had arrived to show superiority, to avoid a protracted confrontation with an adversary they regarded as far less significant. As the situation continued to escalate, the humans began a delicate psychological balancing act. They permitted carefully chosen snippets of confidential information to be disclosed through unprotected communication channels, alluding to outdated technologies, supplies, and anxious crew members. These transmissions were intercepted by the aliens, whose intelligence officers excitedly analyzed each phrase and piece of evidence. This only validated their conviction that the human fleet was utterly outclassed. The humans seemed to be having trouble with outdated systems, repairing outdated hardware, and functioning at the periphery of failure. Fear and self-assurance surged through the Federation commanders' ranks. They chuckled among themselves, certain they had nothing to fear. They started talking publicly of a simple triumph, how they would cause the humans to flee. The idea that these primitives could be a serious threat appeared ridiculous with each interception. Their confidence grew, and they were sure this would be a brief battle, a swift and conclusive one. Human insolence only frustrated them further. They were ready to express themselves, and the alien fleet moved to an aggressive posture. Warships advanced in formation, arranging themselves around the human vessels. The aliens were ready to confidently fire a powerful barrage, believing humans lacked the resources to defend themselves. The alien force was immense, and admirals thought this would be the ideal chance to show off their strength, to serve as a reminder of the Federation's dominance. The humans, however, maintained their positions. Their ships remained seemingly helpless, nearly exposed. They made no aggressive movements or expressions of provocation. They just waited, keeping up their ostensibly defensive stance. From the aliens' viewpoint, it seemed like a fleet preparing for inevitable devastation, indicating that humans were accustomed to their destiny. The tension between the fleets was palpable, every moment dragging on forever. The alien fleet drew nearer in anticipation of the clash. Confident they would deliver a devastating blow against an unworthy adversary, they were sure they had all the benefits of advanced technology, larger quantities, and a better tactical location. The commanders eagerly prepared to give orders, to burn the humans, but they stayed patient. As they waited and watched, they were unaware of the humans' next move. The hubris of the extraterrestrials was contributing directly to their downfall. As the alien vessels approached, continuing to think they were up against an ill-prepared and subpar fleet, the humans remained silent, waiting for the perfect time to spring their trap. The alien fleet launched an initial wave of energy beams and torpedoes, streaking across the empty space, converging on the human ships that appeared helpless. The smug alien leaders looked on eagerly, certain of their imminent triumph. This was the inevitable conclusion, they thought, only a formality. Their incredibly powerful force would overpower an assortment of ancient vessels. However, as the initial attacks closed in, something seemed strange to the aliens. The humans weren't frantically maneuvering or panicked. There were no inconsistent messages, just an eerie silence. Then, suddenly, advanced energy shields activated on the human ships. They shimmered with an odd light that absorbed the incoming fire. Stealth systems were triggered, and several human vessels completely vanished from view. The alien volleys tore through space but found no target. The human fleet had disappeared. Confusion spread throughout the alien ranks. Their sensors had trouble adapting as they couldn't understand what they were seeing. Before the extraterrestrials could regroup, the humans removed their facade. Covert missile pods appeared from beneath the corroded exteriors, and hidden compartments opened, revealing advanced energy cannons and railguns. The human ships that had seemed so out of place and antiquated minutes before erupted with armaments that were anything but. They moved with shocking agility, quickly and efficiently carrying out a coordinated counterattack. Maneuvers that went against all the expectations. A second volley was believed to be known by the aliens, but this time, it originated with humans. The extraterrestrial precision commanders were seldom able to respond as swiftly as the human counteroffensive. They suffered severe damage to their forward ranks. Explosions tore through the extraterrestrial formation, aimed against command ships and sustained vessels with unparalleled precision. Swift and vicious, a tactical masterclass execution. Fear started to grow among the extraterrestrial fleet, who had no enemies. The primitive upstarts they had once dismissed were now much more dangerous. Risky human vessels released their arsenal, using coordinated attack drones from secret bays, swarming like locusts in the direction of the extraterrestrial ships. They moved with advanced AI, dreadful efficiency, bypassing conventional defenses and attacking engines, key systems, and weapon arrays. The alien fleet had communicated with such confidence. They were used to winning their conflicts. All of a sudden, they were on the back foot, fighting to protect themselves from an assault.